Now, so objectives, again, implement classes, getter, setter, all of these things are seeming quite new, quite similar to you, right? They are seeming quite similar to you. Getter, setter, object private field, nested classes, all of these, whatever is mentioned is definitely having some twist. Okay, that is the reason due to which I have mentioned here. If something is not having any twist, I would not mention it in the slide. So constructors, all of us know about constructors, but have you heard about a concept of auxiliary constructors and primary constructors at all from Java? There is no concept, right? There is no concept of something called auxiliary and primary constructors, right? But here constructors are of two types, right? Objects, very good, but what is companion object? Strange. Apply method, again, right? Packages, they are more or less same, but again there is a twist. Here, the way you can arrange the packages, the way you can have the visibilities, right? So I am 100% sure we would not be able to reach up to understanding of packages, overriding methods and all, because I know it typically means more than 3 hours of effort, right? But definitely we would definitely be able to cover first part and a bit of second part. Okay, there would be some backlog, definitely I know about it. Tomorrow we will be covering it, and then again of course there would be a backlog for tomorrow as well, which will be covered to the next class as well. But again, we are reducing it quite a lot. Okay, and as I have told, I can definitely see that there will be some more effort which will be required. Probably if it comes to that, there would be an extra class as well. Okay, now coming quickly, classes in Scala. Okay, before I even come to this part, hold on guys. This was my module 2, wherein demo. Okay, so I have not given solution.scala here. That's great. So guys, the approach here is this demo.scala is a big monolithic file which is having all of the examples which I'll now provide to the support. I have not provided them to support as of now. Okay, and this is having all of the examples. Okay, you can use them or you can copy paste them and try them on your basically REPL session as well. I have followed a completely different methodology for module 3, wherein I am creating multiple examples. So you can see as of now 11 examples. You know what? The examples are I think around 15. Last 4 examples I have not even created because I know I would not be able to cover it. Anyway, not kidding. I'm really serious about it. Okay, so let's just get started. And again, I'm brutally honest as well. So anyway, great. Now, coming to this point, guys, let us first talk about classes a bit. Classes in Scala are quite very similar to the concept of their counterparts in Java or C++, right? So you can see this. There's a class called CTR or counter or whatever you want to call it. There's a variable, right? Private var val or value is equal to 0, right? See this comment. The fields must be initialized. You cannot leave any field uninitialized. First point of difference. Guys, I'm taking a pause here. Are you noting it down? Are you seeing that? Right? That's the first point of difference. Anyway, these logical pauses are to realize that yes, there is some difference which is coming now. Then def, incr, basically increment, it's a counter, right? Increment value with 1 and then current, basically it is going to return you the current value. Okay, no big deal. Now, what is so different? Is there something different which you are seeing? Yes, there is. If you look down, I have not defined the class as public. In Scala, a class is not, it is in caps, it is not declared as public. First thing. Second, the source file name need not to be same as the class name, which is not even mentioned here. So you can have a class called Jacob and you can name it as Partha. You can name the file as Partha. Right? One big difference. A source file can contain multiple classes. I think probably this is another, I mean in Java you can do it, but not this way. So a source file can contain multiple classes and all of the classes could be public. Is that clear? Are these some, so there might be 10 other things which you can talk about the classes, but these are the subtle differences. Remaining things for which I have not talked, you can assume that they are same. So at the first taste itself, does it look completely different kind of thing? Definitely yes to me. Coming from Java world, I would not like to have, I mean, I cannot really assume that my class name can be something else and the actual class can be something else. I cannot really assume that I can have two independent classes in the same source file. Right? It's not really possible in Java world. Guys, I hope others are noting it down, right? Because checking it too many times also is monotonous. Okay, so Santosh says it is not declared as public. Do you mean you don't need to declare it as public since by default it is visible? Right, right Santosh. Two public classes are not possible, but no non-public is possible? No. You can have multiple public classes in the same source file. What is the default constructor here? Compiler will define. Harsh, forget about constructor right now. Okay. So the reason is we'll come back. Okay. Yes, Partha, yes, your point was correct for Java. Right. Now, moving forward here, let us do some of the things with it. And then let us see what it results into. So guys, I have created a class called counter1. Okay. And I have an object main1. And what is this class? It's the same thing, right? Private var val, you must initiate this field. Methods are public by default. See this? Your methods are public by default. Okay. Now, what you can do is object main1 extends app. Right now, forget about what is that. Okay. But see this, val my counter, which is equal to new counter1, my counter dot increment, then println my counter dot current. So what should be the output of it? Do I need to tell? Guys? Okay. Somebody says 0. Great. So let me just run it. Why should it be 0? It should be 1, isn't it? Right, Santosh? So Santosh, for now, I'm just saying, for now, assume that main1 extends app. Right? Just assume that this is by default. I will come back to this point, but not right now. Okay, for now, just assume that it's like public static void main. It's cousin of that. Okay, Santosh? It prints 1. That's fine, right? So now, this is good. Now let me kind of say this is done. Now, let me not talk about much. You can see that there is another class, counter2. It looks also pretty much same. Is there any difference between these two classes? I mean, it is very easy to see by comments, but don't look at the comments. Comments are only for your help. Guys, current is not a method in CTR2. Okay? Current is not a method. Okay? No difference. Okay? Satya, are you sure there is no difference? There is definitely a difference. And as people are rightly mentioning as well, current is a method. Niranjan, when you say current is a method, what do you mean by that? It is it a method in counter 1 as well as in counter 2? Right. Right. So Niranjan and Satya are actually on the right side. So guys, all those people who are saying current is not a method in counter 2, why are you saying so? Not really understandable, because you can see this. It is written as def. Do you anytime say def for a variable? Do you say def for a variable at any point of time? So if you are saying that current is not method, right, Santosh? Right, Animesh? Sorry, not about Animesh and others. Right, Vamsi? Guys, I hope I'm just connecting with all of you, right? So def is only used for functions, right? Of course, functions and procedures, right, Santosh? Now, or okay, now let's come back quickly. So the difference is this, nothing else. Either you put main1 class does not, Vishal, a question, in main1 class don't we need main function? No, you don't need it. You don't need it. Okay, I'll come to that point. Okay, so now what is the difference between object main1 and object main2 then? So guys, the difference is, rather than waiting so much, see this. The difference is my counter dot current. If you just try to call this, it will not be okay. Okay, I mean the count, this guy itself will give you an error. But if I remove it, it would work. If I remove it, it will work. Okay, so I can actually call it as probably this. It would still print 1. Why? Okay, it is 0 because I have not incremented it. So it will be 0. It will be 0. I'm so sorry. Right. Okay. So what did you understand from it? You saw that there is a difference between the way you declare it, the way you declare a method within a class. If you say def current and then bracket, then only you can invoke it. Otherwise, you cannot really invoke it with this braces. That is one. Another, there are other differences, guys. I'm just coming to that. So previous class, right, whatever you said could be used in this way. There is another difference. that whenever I created a new instance, I never said this this brackets, right? New class count, whatever, new counter to, and then bracket. I never said this, right? Right, guys? That is one difference with Java, which anybody can obviously understand it. Then the other thing is, so you can actually say that new counter also is valid, or if you say new CTR, that is also valid, very much valid. Parameterless methods could be called with or without parenthesis. Okay? It can be called with or without parenthesis. Very good. Using any form is your choice. However, this is something which is a Scala convention. This is something which is the Scala convention. You typically like to put this bracket in front of a mutator method. Means something which changes the state of a class. Okay, a method which changes the state of the class. That is the, you would like to keep bracket with it. Whereas you don't put bracket with a getter method. Okay, or the accessor method for that matter. Okay, which basically gives you the results. Guys, are you following it? This is just the first step itself. Gives you, yeah, I'm sure it gives you, so many differences, right? Talk about it. We have just seen some 4 or 5 lines, and it's another thing that I have designed in such a way so that 4 lines means 4 concepts, or at least 2 concepts. Right, guys? Are we all good? Can I proceed forward? So the thing which we are following here is, so there is no difference between this or bracket. Yes, there is no difference. But as a convention, so if you talk about it, if you talk about both of the classes, they are one and the same. There is absolutely no difference. Okay. Only thing is, I have said that bracket, this is something which is following a Scala convention, wherein I am putting bracket, okay, wherein I am putting bracket for a mutator method, and I am not putting bracket for the accessor method. That's all. Okay. So again, this is, now I hope you guys are finding it useful. Properties with getters and setters. Again, something which is good. I think it should be example number 2. Just a second, guys. So example number 1 is over. Now these are very, very simple things. And again, nice one. Getters and setters are better ways to expose your class properties rather than setting them by yourself, right? Anybody who would like to say why is it so? Why should you have getters and setters? Why can't you simply say duck dot size is something, and anyway, how does it matter, right? You're just invoking another method in the class, right, guys? Anybody who is having a different opinion, or some of you who are already using it since a long time? Anyway, for some of you it might be a useless kind of a discussion, but still. Anybody, guys? Quick. Venkat, Niranjan, Jacob, Harsh, Santosh. Guys, are you able to hear me? Control the state. Okay. Simple, guys. It's not that. The simple thing is getter, setter. They give you one extra layer of handling the things, right? Duck, size. What if, say, somebody says duck dot size is equal to -5. Oops. Duck of size -5, nobody has seen it. You can't even imagine it. But if you put a setter, right? If you put a setter with it, and then if you say, duck dot set size -5, then you can put some sort of defaulting logic, right? Right, guys? I hope everybody understands it, right? Or just in case you must have forgotten after such a long time, this might be a good refresh, quick refresh, right? So my refreshes are typically by examples rather than, from the theory perspective. Guys, if you are good, I'm going back quickly here. Example number 2. I have created a simple class duck, variable size 1, as simple as that. Now, object duck demo extends app. By the way, now is the time when we will talk about it. See guys, this is a typical way wherein you should extend app, okay? And this is where, actually this guy could not even have extended app. If you are trying to put your main method or something, right? So basically this, whatever extends app, that class becomes your main class, okay? That class becomes your main class. It's like, so at any point of time, if more than one class is extending app, it's like having more than one class which is having public static void main. Okay. So Santosh, I'm coming to that point. Okay. Now see this. I'm just creating a new duck method and f.size underscore. Now this looks something different to you. Let's talk about it. In Java, we typically keep the instance variables as private and expose a public getter setter. This is something which is typical Java, which you have seen. But see this, Scala provides the getters and setters always by default for every instance variable. Okay, so you don't really need to have a different getters and setters. Isn't it something different? Isn't it a different behavior than Java? Because Java will give you instance variables and then you have to define your getters and setters. Right guys? I hope I am connecting with everybody. And only thing is, my request is to type yes or no so that it acts as a checkpoint. Right? But in Scala, you will get your getters and setters by default for every field. You don't have to define it. So the moment you have said where size is equal to 1, I'm coming to that, Harsh. I'm coming to that. So how to control public, private, right? That question, I will be answering that. So now the point is this. If you create where f, let's say, is equal to new duck and f dot size this equal to 10, either you call it or you call the first one, the result is same. See this. So what is the difference between these two statements? Can somebody tell me? Right. See, this becomes very tricky. F dot size equal to. It is not f dot size space. I mean, it is not an assignment. You are invoking the setter here. You call it or you call the below one. F dot size underscore equal to. Both are one and the same. So this is not direct access. Venkat, you cannot access it anywhere directly. And the second one, f dot size is getter, right? I am not sure whether this would work. No, it would not, because it's the default one, right? Clear? How do we distinguish between the assignment and invoking then? Very simple. If after this you see equal to, then it means you're calling an setter. Or better, you do this. This is internal way of Scala. Right. Seems like groovy kind of. So I have not worked on groovy. Right. Can you put a blank after f dot size? This one? No, it would not work. What is the difference? Why did they choose size underscore? I mean y underscore. This is just a Scala way, Animesh. No logic specifically. I would say being fashionable. Okay. So underscore is a setter, right? And if it is not underscore, it is a getter. But with Scala, it becomes very difficult. Right? Again, Santosh says, what is the difference between? No difference. I just did it, right? No difference between them. Right. So many small things to remember. That's why, guys, that's why I said that initially we need to come up with good convention for our team to follow a practice. Exactly. That's kind of $1 million question, if not billion. Can you explain why is it so? Okay. Jacob, see, these are different conventions. Have you seen this? F dot size is equal to 10. This looks like a typical assignment. If you look at f dot size underscore equal to 10, it is another, looks like another assignment, right? Right, Jacob, I'm actually answering your question. Vikas, can you explain why it was so? Oh, okay, something else. But in tuple, underscore was a getter. That was your point, right? Because that was a convention for tuple, Jacob. That was a convention for tuple. Here it is completely different. You are talking now in terms of the class, not in the terms of the tuple. Right? Jacob, so class, it is another thing, right? Same underscore, you have seen 3 different meanings, right? Depending upon where you are using it. Right? Jacob, Shekhar, Animesh, Niranjan, Santosh, right? I got it. Method overloads. Right, right, Santosh. See, I know it would take a bit more practice and bit more time. Okay, now don't worry. This is just a start of twist. There are some more twists which I have to give. Okay, next, Scala. Okay, generates a class for JVM with private size variable. Basically, we are talking about this. And so what really happened is, if you go back and if you see, so what happened is your variable, actually how it got implemented, your variable was actually a private one, okay, private size variable itself, and public getter and setter method. This is what happened when you actually just said var size is equal to something. But if you declare the field as private, guys, somebody was asking about private, public and all that stuff, okay. If you declare a field as private, the getters and setters both will be private, okay. The getters and setters both would be private. Can you see this? This is something which is even more important, right? Now, I think example number 3. Guys, are you liking these small examples? I have created them one per concept. Are you okay with it? Because I am creator of these examples. Whatever way you like, I can change them. but typically with a language, it really helps to create small, kind of concept-oriented programs, right? Can I get kind of response from you people? Okay. Variable is private, but we want setter private, but getter public. I'm coming to that point as well. I'm coming to that point as well. What need to do? Right. Okay. Let's come back to this. So guys, this is a class. Again, it's a private duck. Okay, that was a duck. This is a private duck. And it has a private variable age. Now, see this. Age is equal to private age. What is it? It's a getter, right? No need to guess about it. Def age underscore equal to. And then, see this. Right? Right, guys? So this is something where you have said where f is equal to private duck, and then you are just kind of trying to do what I was just trying to say here. You're setting up the age as -10. So what should be the output here? What should be the output here? Right. It's 0 because of a very simple thing that you have done that kind of, handling of that logic. Anyway, going further. Now, the getters and setters, basically, just a second. There is a small disconnection here. So there was somebody who was talking about, I have declared a field as private, okay, and it's kind of, it's getters and setters, everything is a private one. Now, I want to kind of declare a particular field as a read-only field, okay. Harsh, I think you were coming to that point, right? Getter should be public, but the setter is private. The only reason of doing it would be because you would like to have the field as a read-only field, right, Harsh? So I'm actually coming to that point. Just a second, it's a bit mismatch with this. So sometimes we just need some read-only properties, and when you talk about the read-only properties, there are two possibilities, okay? Here, these are the rules, guys. All of these, whatever I'm discussing, are different rules altogether, okay? So her Animesh is giving an answer, but Animesh, there is a limitation. I'm discussing these things, okay? There are two possibilities. One, the properties value, or whatever instance variable or member value is not changing at all. The value is never changing, right? Very good. Or the value is changed. You can change the value, but indirectly. So for example, how would I say? Probably value of pi, right? Value of pi is something which is never going to change, right? So if you have this case wherein your property value is never going to change, just declare that property as val. Because the moment you will declare the property, any class property, guys, these are different from variables. Please pay attention. It is very easy to get distracted, but we are right now talking, each and every of our discussion is happening right now in the terms of the classes, right? So any class property or any class member, if you declare it as a val, then Scala is going to treat it as a final variable, and it will generate only getter and no setter. So Animesh, you are good with it. Harsh, you are good with it, right? You do not really want anybody to change it, but get it. Declare it as val, and it was not only for Harsh and Animesh, I hope it is for everybody. So everybody is able to get this point, right? You are good with it because you are not able to change it, but you are able to get the value. Point is, okay, I don't want to, so the variable can change, but not publicly, okay? So probably you initiate a transaction, right, wherein you withdraw some money, right? So your balance is something which cannot be updated, let's say from a public class, right? But whenever, I mean from another class in public, right? But whenever from somewhere you invoke a withdraw money method of your class, that withdraw money method of your class can change the balance, right? Guys, you are getting the point? So you have only exposed an API which gives you the balance of your account, right? So for public, you can still just change, you can just get the balance, but or you can withdraw the money, but you cannot really affect the balance of an account directly, right guys? This is your second requirement. Guys, are you all able to get the point which I'm trying to make here? This is the second case. Only Harsh is getting it. What about others? Santosh, Niranjan, Jacob, others, Shekhar, everybody, right? So this is the place wherein your val thing is not going to work. Your val thing is not going to work. In the second case, the field will be declared as private and you will provide the getter, okay, as whatever example which we are going to show you now. So let's say you have variable var, right, wherein a val provides the semantics for read only, exactly, right. So you will get only the getter, not the setter. But if you don't do it, then anyway you will be having getter and setter. But the way you're gonna change it is, you will say value and then def increment. This increment is going to increase your value, and the current is just returning value, nothing else to you. Okay, and I'm sorry, I kind of keep doing this. I copy pasted, of course, the code from the previous class to this. All right. Well, inside the class is read only even for the methods for the same class. Right, it is read only, of course. Santosh. Okay, now you can say that you have created a read only counter, and when you say dot increment, right, your value is incremented by 1, but when you say you want to expose the value here, right, you can just get it via current itself. So there is, you can actually see that you have ideally made this class as a read only one. You cannot really say f dot current, or sorry, f dot value is equal to something. You cannot really say that. You'll try to do this, you will get an error for it. Guys, clear to everybody? I mean, just for the sake of understanding, I'll just probably just run it once more. Right? Now, let me go back quickly to the next one. See, that initial investment has helped us to move forward faster. Right? Next, with only getters, right? This is done. Object private. This is also even a bit, this goes one step further. So typically, private, public, there is nothing called protected here. Okay. So anyway, now coming back to the point, Scala goes one level up, and you can have some of the fields which are only object private. Do you understand the meaning of object private? What does it mean? right? So object private means, Santosh is saying lost. What is lost? You are able to hear me, right, Santosh? Okay. Santosh, object private versus private. Okay, not a problem. See, private is what? You just declare a method as private, or sorry, property as private, and only the instances of the same class would be able to access it. You cannot really access the member or private member of a class from any other class, right? That's the typical private. But when you talk about object private, then what happens is, even if you are having the instances of the same class, they would not be able to access the same field of another object instance of the same class. Am I, Niranjan? You said yes. I hope you agree with my definition, right? And everybody else also. Animesh, now do you understand the meaning of object private? Right? So it is one more level up than private. Private is one thing wherein you have said the privacy is at the class level. But when you go for object private, it is at the object level. So rather than talking about it, let me show you something. Okay? Let me show you something. See this. But before I even go there, we can declare the variables as object private by private this qualifier. You will see that. Now, the methods or even those members and all, they can only, access the value field of the current object. They cannot really access the value field of the, other object, even if they are of the same class. Okay. For the class private field, private getter and setter methods are generated, right? You know that, right? We just talked about it. For the class private field, the private getters and setters methods are generated, but if it is object private field, no getters and setters are generated. See this. Animesh, Niranjan, Santosh, this is where Scala is, I mean everybody for that matter. I'm just calling your names because you are continuously interacting. Jacob, right? Satya, right guys? Harsh, everybody. This is completely new behavior, right? This, if you have an object private field, no getter and setter would be generated. It's so weird, right? It is. In fact, I don't use this feature anyway. Or probably right now I'm not such a good programmer or whatever. Okay. Example number 5. Let's talk about it. Class private counter. Okay. Private var values this, increment, current, and see this. There is something called isLess, right? IsLess method is something which will take another value of the same type, private counter, and it will check whether the value, the value of current object is less than the other val or not, right? If it is less, then it will return something. Guys, you are getting this point? You're getting my point here? Right? Now if I run, what should be the output? What should be the output here? Can you please tell me? Very good. What should be the output here? Only one answer has come. Nice. Are you looking at the code and saying error? Or typically my questions anyway end up in error. So guys, the answer as Niranjan has rightly put, it is true. Do you know why it should be true? So I'm not exactly Animesh, exactly, but say this, look at the code. Object private, this extends app, f1 is equal to new private counter. I'm creating a new private counter, wherein I have not said, I have just said private. I'm not said private this. So I can definitely access it, right? Correct? We are in, I need to go again. Sure, Harsh, sure. But I hope you are finding it quite interesting, right? Just another request that, just fill in the, feedback. That's it. Okay, 1 minute thing. Sure, not a problem. Now, for the remaining, in fact, we are also going to disperse in under 5 minutes or so. Don't worry. Okay, so the point here is, guys, this is going to work. But if I would have said object only counter, then I could not even have invoked this. It would have given me error. Okay, Animesh, if instead of private counter, I would have said object only counter, because there I have declared, value as private this, I could not have gone up to this point. You can try that. I'm not seeing a point of trying it, but you can do it. Right? And Niranjan, Santosh, others, right? Okay. Next. So I am sure you people are finding all those new things. Believe me, if you open up your books, right? Whatever, that programming Scala or something, you will find these things at least in kind of some, I don't know, some 40-50 pages. And by the time you reach up to the 50th page, you will forget what was there in the 10th page for that matter. So that's why I've kind of kept it so very distilled. I've skipped very basic things, that assuming that you know how to create the object and all, right, which anyway we are covering. Okay, so actually val is equivalent to object private. I don't know what is the difference. Okay, Santosh, you will get the answer here. In Scala, the getters and setters are generated for each property. I'm just trying to summarize because I have given so many twists and turns. That's why I'm going to summarize it here. Okay, Scala, the getters and setters are there for every property. Very good. For the private properties, the getters and setters are private. Okay, for a val, only the getters are generated. In Scala, you cannot really have a read-only property. It means only a getter and a no setter. If you have to implement it, I have shown you the way you can implement it, right? You can set it as private and then go ahead and implement your custom methods. And if there is an object private field, then there would be no getters and setters. So the difference between a val and an object private field is, for a val, there would be definitely a getter will be generated. But for object private, there would not be even a getter. Santosh, got the answer? How Scala is going to treat that? Right? I know that these kind of questions do come when we see so many things in such a less time. But for the very same purpose, I have kept it. Okay. Yep, Animesh. So I think I missed your question. I'll just see what is your question. But we can modify object private where inside the same class. No, no, no. Inside the same instance. Animesh, inside the same instance. So let me come back. If you were to do this, if you were to say object only counter instead of private counter, just say object only counter and then try to do this f2 dot is this. It will not allow you. Okay, you want me to go back to which slide? This one? Okay, so that's fine to the code. Okay, I can go back to the code, right? This is the code. So if you are going to say object only counter, right? Then this statement, I mean, editor will not allow you to put this statement. Animesh. But if you were to say only F1 private counter, whatever it is, and then whatever value you want to change within F1, you can do it. But you cannot do it in F2, even though it is also of the same class. Got it? Okay, I'm happy that your question is answered. Great. Now, Venkat, so do provide your feedback, guys, and thanks for attending it. But about Venkat, Venkat has a question wherein he says, one quick question from Hadoop perspective, do you ever out of memory exception in Hive? Oh yes, why not? Without any mapping, map join explicitly mentioned. So I'm assuming there is a kind of a reducer which is running, and definitely there, I have seen it many times, Venkat. Out of memory exception. So in that case, you will typically, you would typically like to increase the heap size of your tasks. So there is an option which is provided. I have just forgotten. You can just Google about it. Okay.